Okay, so as you probably know, there's a brand new Tiger Woods documentary being aired in the United States at the moment. Part one came out last weekend, and basically it deals with Tiger's upbringing and his early years in professional golf. But one of the major points on this journey is the 1996 US Amateur Championship. It's shown in glorious Technicolor in the documentary. It's his last event before turning pro, and someone who had a front row seat to all of this incredible finale to this amateur championship in 1996 was Steve Scott. Now, he's the man who Tiger Woods had to beat to win that title 25 years ago. And I'm delighted to say he joins us on the show today. Steve, you're very welcome. Thank you very much for taking the call.
No, I appreciate you having me on. It's my first time in Ireland, I think.
Well, you're very welcome virtually. On Instagram the other day, you said you were interviewed for this documentary in 2019, but the stuff that you were saying was eventually left on the cutting room floor. So give us the exclusive here. What's all the good stuff that we missed out on in the documentary that you revealed?
Oh, well, I guess, what we had to say wasn't quite salacious enough, so they they left it out, which is fine. It's all good. They definitely went, they uncovered kind of they didn't really talk to any of his competitors that they played against other than Rocco Mediate, I guess. Or at least got on the cover on the final cut. I think they talked to Chris DeMarco, and there might have been a couple others in there, maybe Bob May even. But yeah, I think they kind of maybe they had an idea at the beginning, and once they started getting all the information from all of their interviewees, they decided to go in another direction with it. So so be it. But yeah, no, we just talked a lot about the match and different points of the match and how just how impactful that day was to the history of golf, and how Tiger Woods really became Tiger Woods and turned pro the next day, and he being the last amateur player he ever played against. So yeah, it was pretty interesting to go through that, and fun, but being a part of history is pretty cool.
It certainly is, I'd imagine. Let's go back to Pumpkin Ridge then in 96. You mentioned there that Tiger's going for three in a row, a historic achievement, which is probably never going to be surpassed. You just finished your freshman season, I think, at Florida, going up against him. So it's not like you're unaware of how amazing Tiger Woods is going to be. I presume you're acutely aware, in fact, that this guy is going to become one of the greatest sports people of all time, even at this point.
Yeah, no question. I mean, he had won 3 U.S. juniors and 2 consecutive U.S. amateurs. So he really had the momentum on his side in a lot of ways. I mean, it was the David versus Goliath sort of matchup. And yeah, I still can't believe, looking back after, I mean, this is the 25th anniversary this year. I cannot believe that I was the other guy in that match. I mean, it really blows my mind. But what he has done in golf, I mean, he was supposed to do, I mean, he was brought up from, a toddler age, or maybe even younger than that, really, to be this golf killing machine. And for him to have all the chips stacked against him, and me being 5 up after 18, and him knowing that he was probably going to turn professional the next day and sign a big Nike contract, and it's pretty amazing that all of those things had to be somewhere in his mind, but yet he was able to put that aside and compartmentalize it and go out and play an unbelievable 18. The second 18, he shoots 65. I mean, I'm 5 up after 18. I shoot 70, 2 under par, and I don't win. And that doesn't happen too often.
It's incredible when you put it that way, that to have a 5-stroke lead against a guy who's already a 2-time US amateur. You've got Phil Knight, I think, in the crowd. You've got, I presume, one of the most energetic galleries that the US Amateur Championship is ever going to see. And you're there midway through the finals, 5 shots ahead. What are you thinking at that point?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even 5 shots. It was 5 entire holes. So each hole is its own tournament, essentially. So, I mean, you could lose in stroke play, you could lose 3 shots on one hole, but in match play, you can only lose 1 hole at a time. So, a 5-up lead is pretty monumental. I mean, if I just maintained that 5-up lead going into the back 9, there wouldn't have been a whole lot of holes left. But he played a great front 9 coming out in the afternoon, and yeah, he did Tiger Woods things, right? I mean, he came out and that was really, just the coronation of his amateur career. And then for him to go and win two tour events that fall, and then the Masters 8 months later, and breaking all the records, winning by 12. It's really, I mean, remarkable isn't even the word to describe what he has done in his career. And he's accomplished things that nobody in the history of golf will probably ever accomplish ever again.
Did he have an edge on the course that weekend? Was there an element about him where you were made blatantly clear to you that you were his enemy for those 30, 36 to 38 holes, as it turned out?
Yeah, I think we both had an edge. We both were. I mean, first of all, it's a pressure-packed match. I mean, he's playing for history. I'm playing for the U.S. Amateur title, the biggest title you could ever win as an amateur. And yeah, I mean, we didn't talk a whole lot. I mean, there wasn't a whole lot of chit chat. But when you're under that much pressure, it's really hard to stir up a conversation because you're so laser focused on what you're trying to do. And just the whole scene that day was really pretty surreal. But he wasn't too much of a chit chatter. I would say good shot, he would say thanks, and that was really the extent of our conversation. I mean, it really was.
So you didn't get any good shots off Tiger, no?
No, he didn't. He didn't want to. He wasn't good at acknowledging his opponents, I don't think.
Well, the thankful thing for him is that you were pretty good at acknowledging your opponent. You were pretty good at noticing things that your opponent did. For people that aren't familiar with this particular part of the story, tell us about the marker and how you actually played a part in, I guess, Tiger not getting caught by the rules eventually.
Right. I mean, yeah, there's no question. I mean, the 34th hole of the whoops, my bad. 34th hole of the match. There we go. Yeah, so you're making me flustered already thinking about this. The 34th hole of the match, I'm 2 up with 3 to play, and I've got a lot of momentum, and I've kind of just held him off on the back 9 and made a couple really good shots and won a few holes, and so I'm 2 up with 3 to play, and he drives it. We both hit driver on the 16th, 34th hole of the match, and he's down there about 50 yards past me. I drive it into like an old divot, and the ball is kind of sitting down, and it's not a great lie, and it's a right pin. I only hit draws. My ball only curved right to left. I was not good at hitting a fade. Still, I'm not good at hitting a fade. And so I kind of come from the inside a little bit, and I chunk it. I hit it in the green side bunker. He hits the sand wedge about 6 feet, spins it back off the hill, and actually spins out of the rough, crazily enough. Spins it about 6 feet. And so I hit my bunker shot up there to 10 feet. And this is kind of where fate puts itself in the world, right? I mean, everything happens for a reason. Everything, like, it's really funny how it all works out. And I mentioned this actually, this is a big topic of the book that I've got coming out soon that I can mention to you, called "Hey Tiger, did you move? You need to move your marker back." But so his ball is right in my line, and so I asked him to move his marker 1 to the right. And I get up there. It's about a left edge putt, and I get up there and I bury it. I hit a great putt, goes right in the hole. And I'm walking off to the side, and I'm out of the corner of my eye. I mean, I'm really happy that I made this putt. Like, it was a huge moment, because if I don't, I essentially give him the hole. He has to just 2-putt from 6 feet, and he's going to do that. But I forced him to make this putt to win the hole outright. And I'm going off to the side of the green, and I kind of look out of the corner of my eye like, hey, he's kind of down in his crouch, putting his ball marker, it's on the ground. And I say, hey, you need to move that back. And he kind of maybe does a double take or something. But he has to stand up and go through the whole routine of moving the marker back, because he had completely forgotten to do so. And in match play, if you play from the wrong spot, unfortunately you lose the hole, and that would have been the whole entire match right there. And look, it's the moment is not. I'm telling and I know you teed up the story for me, but the moment is more. It's not like, oh well, Steve Scott did this great thing. It's really golf. Golf is, for those of you who play golf and love golf, that this is really the essence of the game: sportsmanship, integrity. Those sorts of things are very, very important to golfers. And in that moment, essentially, I supported and upheld the game of golf in that moment. and I'm very proud of that moment. Unfortunately, the match ultimately didn't turn out my way from there. He made some great putts and some great shots, but that moment is something that will live with me forever, and it will live in the history of the game forever.
Tiger says that he changed how he uses his markers ever since then.
Yes, absolutely.
He goes tails, I think, whenever he knows he needs to move his ball back, and heads when he knows that the ball can stay where it is. It's an amazing day for you personally. It's obviously, like, I guess Tiger has to go to 2 holes of a playoff to actually put you away. You're playing unbelievable golf over the course of this day, but it's also deeply personal for you as well, because you have your girlfriend as your caddy, who's now your wife.
Yeah.
Does that kind of help the fondness of the memory? Like, do you often reminisce about it together? Because it's very unusual for, I guess, a couple to have this incredible sporting moment to look back on.
There's no question. I mean, you think about the history of golf and how many female caddies there were in big moments in golf. And obviously you had Fanny Sunison, who caddied for Nick Faldo. You had Nikki Stricker, who caddied for her husband, Steve. Not too many other female caddies out there, especially one that played such a pivotal of a role. I wouldn't highly recommend marrying your caddy. It doesn't really, some of them don't bathe very well, but no, I'm kidding. But the fact that, yes, we absolutely, Christy and I have been married now for 21 years, and we have 2 great kids, a 12-year-old boy, JC, and a 10-year-old daughter, Kaylee. And it's a really special thing to look back and know that we were a part of history, and we did the right thing in the right moment. And it's something, even though I lost, I still won. And I think that's the best lesson that anybody can learn from this.
Have you heard the Butch Harmon story? The lines he gave to Tiger Woods in terms of the motivational tool in between the 2 rounds of 18. Is this true?
Just a couple times. Yeah, I've heard it. I read it once in Golf Digest, or I read it somewhere, and I wrote him a letter. It was a motivational story. It wasn't a true story, but it was a story to get Tiger fired up. And he said, after the morning 18, hey, every time you miss a putt, you notice that, that little girl is laughing or, giggling over there in the corner with Steve. And, I guess, whatever, to try to fire Tiger up. And yeah, he comes off the 35th hole when he holds this 35-footer. And he goes, well, I guess she ain't smiling now. And, it was all a motivational story, not true. My wife is a LPGA professional. She would never do that sort of thing. She knows the game of golf well enough to never do that, first of all. But yeah, I've heard that story, and it was funny. Butch told that story. I don't live there anymore, but I was a pro up in New York, and he came to one of our big teaching seminars and did a big seminar and talked for a couple hours. And part of his talk was just that. He didn't know I was in the audience at all. And there was about 400 of my colleagues from the Met section in New York, and he didn't know I was in the audience at all. And everybody starts looking at me and kind of going, ooh. And eventually he kind of apologized afterwards, because he didn't know that I was there. But whatever, Butch is Butch, and that's the way. But it was an unbelievable moment, the whole thing. And to be a part of it, pretty crazy.
And that is kind of to bring us to our final point here then. Do you ever consider the sliding doors moment had, not so much the marker story, let's forget about that, but maybe had Tiger maybe not sunk that incredible monster put on, was it 16, the first really iconic uppercut moment when he's wearing red? If that lips in and out, or if you think that it's one stroke here or there that goes in your favor, do you consider how things might have gone differently, or do you think it doesn't really matter? Tiger was always going to become a superstar regardless, and it might not have had too much of an impact on your career.
Well, I think it would have been a positive for me, for sure, to win. I mean, I basically got everything out of that match other than the trophy. I mean, I played in the Masters. I played in the Masters, every kid's dream. I wanted to play in the Masters. I got to play in the Masters. I played in the US Open. I played, numerous tour events because of that moment. I'm getting into a broadcasting career in the last few years as well. And, that happened because of that moment. Everything really happened has happened great in my life because of that moment. Married my girlfriend, who's now my wife, and just everything really has revolved around that moment. And really going into that, this whole last year with the pandemic, it's given me the opportunity to really kind of think a lot deeper about that moment. And I wrote a book. It's called Hey Tiger, You Need to Move Your Mark Back. It's coming out in mid-May, and it'll be available on anywhere you buy books. And I'm going around the country and maybe around the world to do some book talks. Maybe you'll have me over there in Ireland
100%
to do some book talks. But yeah, everybody, it's a story that junior golfers need to know. It's a story that a big member guest at a club, or it's a story that golfers need to know, and it's a story to pass on for generations, and understanding how great the game is. In a world where we live in other sports, maybe trying to get away with things as much as they can. Whether it's the Patrick Reed incident and in the Bahamas building sandcastles in the sand, or the Houston Astros Major League Baseball team over here cheating with the pitching signs. People try to get away with as much as they can until they get caught. And I think that moment really it's that feel-good moment, that feel-good story where, look, I didn't win, I didn't capture the trophy that day, but I captured a lot. And that's really, at the end of the day, that's what matters to me. And I've not lost any sleep over that moment at all. I wish things would have turned out different, but I know I'm going to go to the grave knowing that I did the right thing in the most pressure-packed moment, and I did the right thing, and it's something that my kids will learn from, and my kids will do, and their kids will do. And it's a moment that I'm very, very proud of.
And I'm sure we'd love to get stuck into that a little bit more when the book does come out. In mid-May, you said. I'm sure people will keep an eye on that. Hopefully, we'll get you back on for that to have a bit of a deeper chat around sportsmanship, especially Patrick Reed and a couple of other individuals that possibly come to mind even within the game of golf. I think it'll be an interesting chat. Just one final question. What are your thoughts on the documentary so far? Like, it's interesting at the very start there that you kind of allude to how the documentary makers have gone in a different way to maybe the golf itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's the documentary is definitely juicy. It's I've seen both parts of it. I won't give away the second part, but it gets pretty juicy. I'll say that. It's really interesting. Look, most all stories out there on Tiger have revolved around the greatness of his 82 wins on the PGA Tour, his 15 majors, his all the great things he's done on the golf course. But let's face it, there is another side to Tiger Woods. There's some people that want to see that, and there's other people who are appalled that this story is being told about their hero, because he's a hero to many people. But I guess you can't, especially in this day and age, you can't get away with these sorts of things without them being videotaped or have audio. If this happens 50 years ago, there's no tape, or there's probably not as many records of something like this. But he's in an era where he's in a total fishbowl, and he can't do all the things that he did. And maybe he was a little naive to think that he could get away with all the things that he got away with. So that story is just being told.
For sure. I can't wait to see part two. Part one was really, really good. You've been listening to Steve Scott, a phenomenal speaker, a phenomenal book hopefully coming down the line as well. Great catching up with you, Steve, and chat to you again soon.
No, it was great. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.